When one thinks about learning, various concepts come to mind. Learning through experience, trial and error, learning through instruction. When one thinks of education, one may conjure images of exchange, relationships and knowledge. But when one thinks of school, a different image may pop up depending on who you may ask. Stressful, daunting, redundant, some may say. Why is it that school, a place that is known to be an institution of both education and learning, has such negative connotations for some? I believe this is due to teachers that employ strict, curriculum-pushing, performance-based teaching with no concern for effective and appropriate use of hidden curriculum, or concern for the critical theories surrounding the content they teach. As educators, we are given tasks both predictable and chaotic to us within our career. We must teach the explicitly stated curriculum, but it is also an implied duty for us as teachers to inspire, build up, and allow our students to become functioning members of society. I believe this is done through an appropriate incorporation of critical pedagogy, and one of the most important ways we as teachers can do this is by moving away from negative traditionalist banking method pedagogical approach. Freire expands on these banking methods, stating that the teacher talks about reality as if it were motionless, static, compartmentalized, and predictable. His task is to fill students with the contents of narration, contents which are detached from reality, emptied of their concreteness, and become a hollow, alienated, and alienating verbosity. The last thing we want to be imparting onto our impressionable and diligent students are alienating verbosities that are not based in reality. To strive for knowledge, students must first have motivation, and it is very well documented that students, usually from grades 7 to 12, experience a lack of motivation and in turn, an ignorance on the importance of learning in general. Whether this can be partly attributed to traditionalist teaching methods, societal influences, biological issues, or other, the prescription is rigor. Ira Shaw, in a conversation with Paulo Freire, explains that rigor is a desire to know, expounding that rigor is the concept to break what he describes as a dead body of knowledge, playing onto Freire's ideas of knowledge being disconnected from the student. Freire perfectly clarifies this to the reader in a short sentence, saying, "This book will be good if at the very moment in which the possible reader is reading, he or she is able to feel motivated because of the act of reading and not because he or she read about motivation." To teach with rigor and inspire the next generation, we must give context to content, utilizing critical pedagogy to bridge the gap between the world outside and the strict curricular teaching of the schooling environment. We as teachers cannot teach content without first considering the various social, cultural, and political aspects that constitute them. When we apply critical pedagogy and teach with rigor, we as educators prepare our students to change the world, rather than only preparing them to take on the challenges of their next assessment task with a lack of passion, insight, and comprehension. Hidden curriculum is undoubtedly an important aspect of teaching. Incorporation of both hidden curriculum and critical pedagogy are some of the ways to differentiate a good teacher from a great teacher. One who can incorporate relevant and appropriate information that isn't constricted to the classroom sphere, but of the world around them, is both a beneficial and inspiring resource to their students. But it is important we as educators question both what ideologies we are privileging and why we are privileging them. It is one thing to say that hidden curriculum is important, but another to say we must indoctrinate our kids towards our personal political ideologies. That isn't teaching, that's an abuse of power and an abuse of position. When asking ourselves what we are teaching, we must consider that not everyone's viewpoints will be taken into consideration, and that the information we teach covertly must benefit a student in a way that assists them in developing into a functioning member of society. Giroux talks on the positive to the hidden curriculum, stating that, "To summarize schooling as merely a reflection of official course offerings would be a naive view." However, he also quotes the work of Michael Apple, who questions this aforementioned notion that we as teachers must question why and how aspects of society are represented in school as objective facts. In summary, I believe to be efficient teachers, we must not remain predictable. Clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson describes the perfect lifestyle to be one where a person has both a foothold in chaos and a foothold in order. Only then can you truly be prepared for the unpredictable whilst remaining composed. And only then is life truly interesting. This sentiment can just as well be applied to teaching. We mustn't stick to the comfortable. We must take on this task of being a true inspiration to the children who will become the future of our country. Do not be afraid to utilize critical pedagogy appropriately, teach with rigor and a healthy amount of experimentation, and make sure we as teachers can make a difference in the lives of the students we teach.